But pretty neat, huh? Welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Corey Wren, and I'm a vegan sociologist, vegan feminist, vegan witch, vegan nerd, vegan everything. And today I have a very special treat, a very unusual treat. So I'm not big on gemstones and things like that because I think they are bad for the environment. Not them themselves, but the way that they're extracted mass consumed, I think is deeply problematic. It's human rights issues, animal rights issues, environmental rights issues, etc. However, there are some exceptions, such as if I find it myself and it's legal to come home with me. And also, I'm just a big fan of rocks and things like that in general, so it doesn't have to be shiny. However, I thought you'd really enjoy this. This is some good old Appalachian magic, my favorite kind. So I am from Virginia. I'm from the mountains of Virginia, the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. About as hillbilly as one could get. And gosh, back when I was in high school, no, this would have been university. When I was a university student, I also worked for the Forest Service when I was in high school. But when I was a university student, I worked for Virginia State Parks. And I specifically was working with this program called the Youth Conservation Corps, which was a modern extension of the Depression era program that was called the Civilian Conservation Corps. And basically it was a way for the government to provide jobs for really poor people, rural folk, Appalachian people, etc. One of the first state parks ever was built in my hometown. It's in Dalfit State Park, and that's where I'm from Clifton Forge. So Dalfit State Park is right outside Clifton Forge. Anyway, this isn't from there. What I'm about to show you is from somewhere else, but close by, actually. So I worked in different parks all over Virginia when I was working for the Youth Conservation Corps. And we had training one day, one weekend really, in this state park called Fairystone State Park. And it's in Appalachia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And it's really beautifully mountainous with a lovely lake and a little fake beach there. But I'm not there for the lake. I went around doing the walks because I was promised if you look closely along the trails, you can find fairystones. Now, fairystones are quite unique to Virginia, which is pretty neat. Not just Virginia, but Appalachia, Virginia. A lot of people, when they talk about Virginia, they think about Washington, D.C., which is like hours away from where I grew up. Or the beach, which is like an 8-hour drive from where I grew up. Virginia is a big state. Appalachia is kind of like the forgotten western half of the state. Anyway, I keep them hidden in my little elephant. This little butt opens up and I can hide things in there. But I got these, I reckon, 20 years ago, if not older than it might have been 20. Yeah, it's probably more than 20 years ago because I was probably about 20 years old then. And the ranger told us if you want to find a fairystone, just look down. It's not too hard to find. I'm told if you want to increase your chances of finding them, you can look at tree stumps. And I reckon the idea is that as the tree grows, it pulls them out of the ground with them or disturbs the soil in some way. I don't know. Anyhow, it's legal for your personal use to take these home because they're just, there's many as anything. You can, I mean, there's like pebbles on the ground almost. But if you wanted to commercially sell them, like they thankfully don't allow that. And if you do want your own, you can purchase them. Virginia State Park's website, Fairystone State Park has a website, and they sell them there. They've nicely polished them and put them on chains if you want them on a chain. Reasonable prices as well, like I said, because they're it's like selling sand at the beach, isn't it? Anyhow, you can't find them anywhere else. I think I looked on the internet, and I think maybe there's a place in Canada, perhaps somewhere in the British Isles. I've never heard of it anywhere having fairystones except right where I come from in the mountains in Virginia. So anyway, I haven't shown to you yet because I was building it up, but here they are. So They're mine and mine only. I found them with my own two eyeballs, so they are not the greatest. Let's see if I can get the camera in there. They're not the greatest I've ever seen, but they're mine. I found them, and that makes them special. Yeah, don't know if I can get the camera to focus. Let's pull this down. You know, I should explain that they do form crosses. Here's a good one. Now, these are my own findings on just a couple hours out on the trail. But if you look online, you can find much nicer versions that are very crystal clear, perfect shaped crosses. So you can imagine that Appalachian people coming over from the British Isles with their Christian beliefs and all that would have found that quite remarkable. Virginia, of course, is the first state, what would become a state, the first colony to be colonized by the British back in 1607. So this would have been quite remarkable to them, finding that they would have probably been, ooh, can imagine. The cross is a sacred sign that reappears across many formats all over the Americas. Tribes native to the land now occupied by the United States, for instance, used crosses in rock carvings and paintings, integrated them into the design of sweat lodges, applied them to prayer sticks and battle garments. What the crosses represent are as varied as the people who worked with them, often relating to divine presence and spiritual protection. They might represent humans, the sun and stars, or the cosmic or elemental four quarters of the world, or in the case of the Dakota, dragonflies, which are thought to be magical. The mound builders of Mississippi have seen crosses as representative of the world order with respect to the heavens, Middle Earth, and the underworld. The Cherokee, native to where fairystones are found, believe them to be the tears of their ancestors who wept at the killing of an important medicine man sent from their creator. Although more recently the tribe adopts the belief that the cross represents the four directions. They're made of something called starlight. Sorry, that's my starlight, but I reckon that is. Actually, I'm making this up. It just sounds magical. Starlight. But anyway, the legend is that they are fairy stones. If you find them, they're the work of the fairies, and they're supposed to be good luck. And this is the lore, right? Because in every culture, fairies mean something different. In Appalachia, we don't have any nasty association with fairies. Fairies are just magical. But of course, in places like Ireland, you don't go out on May 1st because they're going to come get you. And they're bad. You don't want to hang around with the fairies or get caught by one. And I think here in Britain, where I'm living now, they're considered to be a bit mischievous as well. So a whole different thing. And I've also read in one of my witchcraft books that fairies are supposed to be repelled by iron. And I'm not pronouncing that because that's my southern pronunciation. Iron, I-R-O-N. Now I have to call hoo-ha on that because one of the ingredients in starlight, the mineral starlight, is iron. So in America, in Virginia, our fairies come to the iron. They make the iron. Whereas here in the British Isles, it's the opposite. So I guess keeping these in my house all these years, I've been keeping the fairies away. For whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But it's pretty cool, and I kind of forget I have them sometimes because I stick them in this little elephant butt. But I don't know. I like it because for the most part, all the little funny rocks and minerals and gems that I have in my home collection kind of just came to me naturally over the years. It's only been the past few years when I started really getting a bunch of new age books that call for certain crystals, and I kind of splurged and bought a few little ones. But I don't, like I said, I don't like to buy them. I think they're a bit, I'm going to be offensive here, kind of like junk, and they pile up, and I'm not really into crystal magic like some people are. I just think I'm a nature person, and I think rocks and gems are neat looking, but If it means that they're going to be digging them out of the earth and trashing the earth, I'm not cool with that. So, but a great exception to that is fairy stones. Fairy stones just laying there on the ground, and anybody can go and pick one up. So there you go. I bet you never heard of them before, and now you have. Fairy stones, some good old Appalachian magic. Maybe I ought to keep one in my purse now from now on.